It's just loading. Great, we're live. Hi everyone and welcome to Online Events Made Simple. Live, happy International Women's Day as well to all the women listening. Today I am joined with Hayley Smith. Hayley, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Hayley Smith. As Rhian said, I am head of sales here at Silverstone. So I basically head up our corporate sales team. And simply put, I look after anything that doesn't go on track.
Yeah, that's a really good way of saying it.
And we do a lot of things where we coincide the track with an event, a live event, but generally speaking, it's anything that happens in the venue. My team and I look after.
Perfect. And you are relatively new to Silverstone. I mean, I know when we started speaking, was it about December? The year's flying by, but you were saying how you're quite new, so now you're more relatively new. How did you find getting a role in the pandemic? Because I got a role in the pandemic as well. I got this role, and it can be quite scary, but also, you know, there are things out there.
Yeah, no, exactly that. So I started just before the pandemic. So I started December 19. So it's been an interesting one. We had sort of a very, very strong first quarter, which was great for the team and I. And, you know, we had that real good positivity, a great, great vibe. Everyone has sort of have got that relationship. And then obviously the pandemic hit. And I think we all were a little bit blasé, to be honest, initially. Yeah. I don't think none of us sort of knew ultimately what was going to happen in front of us. So it's been tough, but actually it's made us be a lot more creative and think outside the box a little more than maybe we'd have done previously.
Yeah,
as well.
Definitely.
And I think like all venues, we've all had to completely re-strategize this year. I mean, it's a completely different norm. So it's been interesting, busy, but fun all at the same time. And I think ultimately, if we're still having fun, then that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think everyone's definitely been kept on their toes.
Definitely.
So obviously you work for Silverstone, which is mostly known as a race course. For the event organisers listening, you know, you just called it a venue. Is it a venue as well? Is it something you do alongside, or how does it work?
Yeah, so absolutely. Everyone knows Silverstone as the biggest UK motorsport circuit, and which obviously holds the biggest UK sporting event, the British Grand Prix, which I think even if you're not necessarily a petrol head or a motorsport fan, everyone knows about the British Grand Prix. But ultimately, it's a lot more than that. Absolutely, we are one of the largest venues in Central England, and we can cater for up to 4,000 people for a large event. That's only inside, so obviously outside it can gather a lot more interest. So yeah, I think for me as well, I've always worked in venues where, if you like, MICE is almost a secondary revenue stream. So sporting venues is sort of my forte, if you like. So for this, I think it's all about creating awareness and making sure everyone's aware of actually how much Silverstone can do and what we can do. And what is a positive that has come out of the pandemic is actually using a lot more spaces and utilising different areas of the venue where we wouldn't necessarily afford to do before. So that's made it, like you said, much more about keeping on our toes and being bold. And I think for us as well, what's come out of it as well is speaking to other venues and sharing best practice and ideas, which we wouldn't have necessarily done before, because, you know, we do live in that competitive world and we're all, you know, whereas now it's more about that sort of community, and it's really, I think that's really come through as well since the pandemic more so.
Yeah, no, definitely. Communities come up as such a big kind of hot topic of this year, where, like you said, I think you would typically see a venue down the road as a competitor, but now people are really just thinking, you know, we're in this together. Absolutely. We're all in the middle of a pandemic. It's not just you. So yeah, and I think that's really interesting as well that you said kind of you found more ways of using the venue, because normally I would just be like, oh, it's a race course, I don't want to have a party there, or I don't want my wedding there or something, but there are options. What kind of venues do you what kind of events do you focus on at the venue alongside from your racing?
Yeah, so we do, and you rightly said, there is a bigger sort of certain demographic of client that would come to us for a normal event, but we're really popular for large exhibitions, and again we obviously do the automobile, that sort of goes without saying, if you like, but sort of big exhibitions, construction, technology, you know, it's also made us look into more different streams, so like the e-gaming concept as
Yeah.
well, because we've got the space. So it's more about how we utilize that alongside outside space as well.
Yeah.
So it's just been a bit more savvy with it. So, but yeah, anything from training to interviews to big live events. And
Mm.
with the introduction of the hotel opening later this year as well, we'll get a lot more residential conferencing as well. So
Mm.
yeah, it's all very exciting. It's all happening here, I can tell you.
Yeah, I know. But it is strange because you think of it as like a race course, you think, I don't want my meeting there, but really there's so much to it. It's not just a race course, which I think, like, I live right by the Olympic Stadium. That's not just the Olympic Stadium anymore. That's now a football ground. It's just really amazing how venues can really just cater to different things that are coming up.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it. And I think client perception is changing as well, different venues as well. It was the sort of stigma, wasn't it, a few years back, where people didn't necessarily understand or see how much space those sort of venues have, and now people are becoming more and more aware and utilizing them a little bit more than previously, which is fantastic.
Definitely. And obviously, as an outside venue, but also an inside venue, the pandemic obviously hit you. How did you find that? Obviously, there was no sporting events, there was no meetings, no interviews. How did you find that? I know over Christmas you did quite an exciting little project. I say little, it probably wasn't little at all. But yeah, tell us more about that for the organisers listening. I'm sure they're super interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So to begin with, what initially helped us in general as a venue was that we were able to remobilise our track events much sooner than anticipated. So that sort of May to September really, really helped us as a whole, as a venue, to remain commercially viable, if you like. And then there was, like you said, a concept for a Christmas event that came about sort of December 19, but nothing materialised until sort of the back end of 2020, after the pandemic. And the idea behind Lapland was to try and do something for everybody, the community, to celebrate in what has been, quite honestly, a year. But it was to bring, and I use that word community again, but quite rightly, and there are synergies there, that to bring everyone together to celebrate something, but more importantly, that was completely COVID friendly.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I looked into it and it was so interesting. It was almost like a drive-through experience, which is so different to other virtual events and other concepts out there, because it actually meant you could leave the house.
This is it, exactly that. And I believe it's the first UK drive-through event that's happened here. It has happened in the States previously. So we wanted to do something that was fun for all ages as well. So, and the brief was to meet something that for all ages, that was immersive, fun, and experiential. So like the live events that we know and that we love and breathe, but actually done in the car. And what we had originally, so we said that if we get 5,000 people pre-registered for the event, then we'll go ahead and do it. And we ended up having over 55,000 people
That's crazy.
We had to shut the website down because it couldn't cope with the traffic.
Quite literally.
It was just a wonderful positive to end on what was a tough year for everyone. And we had some really great feedback for it, and at the moment we're in talks now for this year and how to make it bigger and better and involve, again, making sure we're attracting all ages, but try and sort of do little more immersive things as well. So it's really saved us as a venue as well. It was really, really, really well fed.
Yeah, I think that's such a great idea, because like I said, there's so many virtual events out there, and there are kind of alternatives to your usual going to a music gig or going to a live event. So you kind of incorporated that. But do you think in the future you would use it alongside a live aspect? Like, obviously, do you think you can still do the drive-through thing if it was a success, but would you have other kind of entertainment there that allows people to communicate?
I would love that for me. Definitely. We've, like I said, we're looking at it already for this year for Lapland.
That's
but
amazing.
right. So like you said, maybe like a summer option You know, to drive through, and maybe where we had the Santa Claus in the globe, maybe having like a form of music act, because we incorporated Radio Silverstone as people drove through, so you could almost have a music act coinciding. Yes, I mean, there's been talks, absolutely. I think because it's such a huge operational task, it's almost like let's try and get the British Grand Prix up and running this year. Have Lapland, then some more ideas after that will follow. But absolutely, I mean, for me, it's so exciting from a live event perspective. There's just so much more you can do with the venue now as well.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And I know a lot of people are saying, kind of, although the pandemic is awful, you know, it's saved a lot of companies where they've come out with new ideas. I mean, like you said, this was kind of in talk, but, you know, it kind of, I guess, forced you to have to use it just to stay open. So I think it's such a great idea.
Yeah, 100%. You know, we've looked at other areas as well. We've launched our driving conferences. It's another option. We've even looked at the outside space, and now we're looking at, we have our own wellbeing experiential zone, which ties in really nicely with the pandemic and all about escapism and mental health. And, you know, ignorantly, if you like, it was an area that we never used before because we didn't have to.
Yeah.
You know, and this is one of the options we had to look at to see if it was viable. So you're right, completely. It's made you really think about other areas to use. Definitely.
Definitely. And although you are kind of a live venue, did you ever consider any kind of virtual elements, any virtual events? Or, I mean, it's very hard, obviously, with racing to be virtual. I mean, Grand National managed it, but it was still kind of a bit weird. So yeah, did you ever kind of think about going virtual with any of your events?
We didn't. With, like you said, with the Grand Prix, because it's such an operational task.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. We have, from our side, we've launched our own showroom now, virtual showroom, so we can do live events and hybrid events streaming through. But I mean, we did look at it originally in March last year, and I actually put my hands up now. I said, "Oh, I'm not sure we're going to need to." Today, and how wrong I was. But in a good way, proved me wrong, absolutely. So now we've launched our own hybrid events using our auditorium that we already have. But for the bigger, larger stuff, for us, we want to see that happening now.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's that face-to-face. It's just so important, isn't it, for our industry?
Yeah, and especially kind of in the work you're in, a lot of it cannot be done virtually. It's the same with kind of travel and music gigs. It's not the same virtually. You know, I think I've always said for certain things like conferences, you can do quite easily. It, you know, at the comfort of your own home in your slippers. But in terms of racing, it is a bit different, and especially sporting events. What challenges did you face? Because I'm sure you faced some challenges. Like you just said, you were kind of hesitant about the virtual and hybrid aspect. Did you face any other challenges that I'm sure loads of event organisers faced in terms of, you know, a lot of companies might be going down? Were you nervous about not getting the business?
Yeah, we had to change our approach to business in general. Absolutely. We don't live in a contractual world anymore, as far as we're concerned at Silverstone. We had to be very, very flexible with our clients. And, you know, what might be seen, I suppose, as short-term pain returns into long-term gain, because we've kept that client relationship and retained our clients, you know, throughout this whole process. As much as it's been tough, I think that's remaining human, to be honest, in all of this, and having, you know, very honest, transparent conversations with our clients, just to set, you know, to reschedule, whether it be reschedule or unfortunately have to cancel altogether. Which is tough. You know, we are a business at the same time, but for us, it was more about ensuring that we kept those clients with us as well. That's probably been the toughest thing, just adapting that approach each time.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you smashed it though. I mean, having over 50,000 signups, I mean, that's crazy for your Lapland. So you can definitely expect to see me there next year, or should I say this year.
Oh, brilliant.
It's been so lovely speaking, Hayley. I better let you go because I know you're speaking on our International Women's Day panel later, which is super exciting. For anyone listening on demand, unfortunately, you would have just missed this event. But if you're watching live, our International Women's Day panel is taking place 5 till 7 p.m. GMT over on Glister. So yeah, give us a follow on LinkedIn to be notified of the link to join. But it's been so nice speaking, Hayley, and super interesting learning about Silverstone.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Speak to you later.
Take care.
Bye.